Stuart, hi, Michael Parkin here. Thanks very much for giving us some of your time today. Just in terms of the injury update, we've seen obviously the news from earlier. Are you, or how concerned are you about Gary Ringrose, a jaw injury, we're told, and what's the situation regarding Johnny Sexton and Caelan Doris in terms of where they currently are?
Gary would be probably the most unluckiest rugby player in Ireland at the moment. A different side to the previous injury. So it was just as you saw in the game, I'm sure the head knock with Jimmy O'Brien. So it's on the other side. It's not as bad as the last one. So I don't think the period out will be as long. It's painful, obviously, for him, but in an ideal world, because of the break he'd had, he wasn't going to get a rest during this window. But he'll obviously not be involved this weekend. But I don't think it'll be as long as the previous one. But yeah, just desperately unlucky and frustrated for him, really. But you know what Gary's like. He's pretty positive, upbeat kind of guy, and he'll be back in January for sure. Sorry, just on the other two. So yeah, the other two obviously have been carrying knocks, and they're on the sort of management protocol with Ireland anyway. So they're not due to be involved this week, and there's a few lads got a bit of time off, which is right, really. I mean, I think that November international window was pretty extensive for the Irish players, and then to come straight into play Europe, so for these lads to have a break, whether it be this week, next week, or whenever, is the right thing to do, because we go back into Europe, then the Six Nations starts, then it's back into Europe, hopefully, and then all the way through for some of them potentially to the Lions tour. So I think that's a sensible decision.
I've spoken to you before about the intensity levels of Leinster Munster matches and how they've evolved over the years. Now it's kind of, because we're in the unique situation that we're in right now, it's behind closed doors in Thomond Park, but are you still expecting that sort of raw intensity to be there on the pitch, albeit without the crowd in your back as well?
Yeah, I am. We're actually only watching back the two games that we played post-lockdown. If you remember, we played two games at the Aviva. I think we won the first one 27-25, and the second one was in the semi-final. And you can see the intensity in those games, and that was very much, right at the start of, the return of rugby. So the fact that Munster have gone so well, obviously in the back of a great victory at the weekend, beating Harlequins as well, and an unbeaten run. We're obviously unbeaten as well, so something has to give. So two unbeaten teams is one thing. Munster-Leinster is obviously, the game that everyone really wants to play in. There's an excitement in the air this week from our camp, that's for sure. For the lads who are going to be involved, and it'll be the same in theirs. So yeah, it's a shame the crowd isn't there, because I've had experiences on both sides of the coin. I've had the win down there, and I've had the defeat as well. So, but I think they'll feel their energy, and we'll feel the blue energy behind us, hopefully.
And just a final question for me, if you don't mind, in relation to the game last weekend, is there a learning you can take from that in terms of your match day preparation? Given the fact that there was like sort of running repairs to players and people getting injured late, did it just go to show how important it was that you had so many other additional players who weren't even in the match day 23?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good at developing cohesion through training. Obviously, Harry dropping out at the last minute means Big Brother steps in, and it's not like we're bringing in a rookie in his place. Ross was easily able to come in and manage the game. Losing Jimmy and Gary as well to HIAs early in the game, Caelan dropping out. So it was a test. I certainly didn't allow the players to use it as an excuse when we went through the review. I felt we were a little bit off in terms of our accuracy and perhaps a little bit of our intensity. I thought we played well. I think people didn't give Northampton the credit possibly they deserved. So pleased to get the win, pleased to get the bonus point. Yeah, a little bit more we could have done, I think, to control, the accuracy of our performance, which we'll need to get right this week, that's for sure.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Mick. Dan, if you've got a couple of questions for Stuart.
Yeah, indeed. Good afternoon, Stuart. Dan Swift here. I don't know if you got a chance on Saturday to see the Dubs win six in a row. They made a decision about 10 years ago that the team is the star, and certain high-profile individuals were identified and let go, not unlike the All Blacks, who happen to have the same sponsor. Is that a philosophy that you at Leinster subscribe to?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think any team that I've worked in that's been successful, it's been very much team centered. I've worked in teams where there are some individuals who maybe have outstanding talent but maybe don't fit into the values of the team. And whilst those teams might have some short-term success, they never have long-term success, in my opinion. And usually the problems that they cause outweigh the positives that they bring. So a game of rugby, if you're a world-class winger and you're a superstar winger, you still need a group of forwards who are going to provide you the ball, half-backs who are going to deliver the ball on a plate, and a centre partnership who are going to help you. You just simply can't operate in a team sport like rugby by putting yourself first and making it all about you. So, Leinster, are pretty humble in terms of their values. Certainly, since I've been at Leinster, there isn't one player, I would say, puts himself above the others as a superstar. And I think it's testament to the success that Leinster's had, and Dublin, obviously, are a good example. I think, you look at the top teams in any sport. Liverpool would be a good example at the moment, in soccer with, a lot of talented players, but Jurgen Klopp's got them playing as a team.
Would you compare the Leinster system then to the All Black and the Dub system?
There's definitely similarities between, I think, taking a club side, between ourselves and the Crusaders, who would be, one of the top New Zealand teams, because they have a homegrown squad. 95% of our players are homegrown. They're born and bred in the province of Leinster, more than 95%, I'd say, born and bred in the province of Leinster. So they care a lot about the club. They have a strong identity and affiliation. They want to do well because they were former, supporters, young supporters of the club. They've seen the stars come through, and if they're a senior player, they want to leave the shirt in a better place. That's the classic quote from Legacy, isn't it? The book, and that's definitely Leinster's strength. And we've had a period of losing like Sean O'Brien, Fergus McFadden, Rob Carney, and these types of players. But now there's a younger generation coming through, and I guess Munster's the same, really. You can almost see it happening down at Munster as well. So it's exciting for both teams. It's exciting for Ireland Rugby. Certainly from my point of view, I know people were a little bit downbeat on some of the performances, but I think Ireland are in a really good place in terms of the development of some of the young talent coming through.
I'm just wondering, at this very critical time for rugby and injuries and the whole debate about the tackling, what your opinion is on Tom Wood's clear out at that ruck in the 70th minute of the game on Saturday?
Yeah, it's probably that one's. I think that one's up. I think it's up retrospectively for being cited, hasn't it? So I'm not going to get involved in that particular one. The one thing I'd say is, well, there's two things I'd say, I guess. One is I think the game is working hard to minimise those incidents and to adjust the rules and the interpretation of the rules to make it safer for the players. So they do happen sometimes in games. They're not obviously ideal by any stretch of the imagination when they do happen. Certainly from Tom Wood's point of view, the one thing I'd say about Tom, having coached him with England, he is a tough player, but he's a fair player, and I don't think he'd have done it out of pure maliciousness. It was unfortunate. I'll have to, obviously let the sighting people deal with it. But I think generally people are working hard, both in World Rugby and in the game generally, to make it as safe as possible. But it is a contact sport as well. So, as you saw at the start of the game, sometimes collisions happen, like Gary Ringroses and Jimmy O'Brien's, accidentally, and I think the right procedure was in place for those two. We'll see what happens, I guess, with the sighting. And
just kind of follow on that, how much is down to the players themselves, in their own responsibility as to how they tackle somebody?
Yeah, certainly technique I would say is really important. You know, the last thing we want is to have people coming in, you know, recklessly off the feet and going out and injuring, you know, opposition players. I remember the injury to Dan Levy, you know, his knee injury, and whilst it was accidental, they're the types of things where, you know, we're doing our very best to avoid those, and we want to practice safe technique, and the more we can do that with younger players in particular, I think, both boys and girls, and the quality of coaching that people receive in the younger age, I think is absolutely key to rugby's safety going forward, its longevity going forward as a sport. And I think the more we can educate and teach the coaches how to teach better technique, the better and the safer the game will be.